Hi, I'm Rachel.
And I'm Andrea, and welcome to the MomTalk podcast. Rachel and I both work here at smartsocial.com, and we work every week to research different apps and different technology that you and your kids are out there using and try to provide some educational and informative resources for both parents and students and teachers to use and better their knowledge on different technology that's out there. Rachel and I really both enjoy doing all the research. I'm speaking for you, Rachel, but I think we both really enjoy doing all the research and learning about new apps. And we just wrapped up kind of a big topic of TikTok. We did some live events at the end of last month. How did those go, Rachel?
They went really well. People had a great time and they were really engaged. People loved that we had students participating because we interviewed several students to tell us what they thought about TikTok, because I think a lot of times there's a disconnect there. So it was interesting we heard from the experts, but hearing from the students, I think was really informative.
Yeah, I agree. I thought the experts were good as well. And I thought one of the best things that they said, with some of the advice that they gave, and something that we kind of usually try to reiterate here on Smart Social, is that the best way to do TikTok as a family is to do it together. And like, that's the best way to connect with your child through the app and to really know what they're doing, is to be on TikTok with them and look at videos together and figure out what they like. And it can be a real eye opener into their personalities and what they're seeing and how they're using the app, which is kind of what we say with all of the apps that are out there. The first thing that you should do when you're trying to decide whether or not it's something you want your student to use is download it yourself, use it, get to know it yourself, and see if you think it's appropriate for what your family values are and what your student really wants to get out of it.
One thing that really stood out to me from one of the students is he mentioned that he didn't think his parents would understand his humor on TikTok. And I was like, I really hope my kids feel comfortable showing me what they think is funny. And maybe it's not always the same thing, but I want to know what they're interested in and share what I'm interested in with them. I think that back and forth is really important.
I do too. And because I think as parents, like, what we really want, especially as our kids get older, and you've got a lot older kids than I do. My oldest is 13. But as they get older, you miss this big portion of their lives, whether at school and they're with their friends, and now they're on technology. And what you really crave is getting to know them, as well as possible, including the things that they think are funny and the humor that they love. And so that's one of the things. Sit down with them and ask them what videos they like and what videos they think are funny, and let's watch it together. Because I'll tell you, my kids love YouTube and they love Mr. Beast. And I don't know if your kids do.
Yeah, they've watched that.
My kids love it. They just think he's so funny and they just think he does all this amazing stuff. And I still don't quite grasp the whole Mr. Beast concept. But as I sit down and watch it with him, sometimes he is actually out there doing some pretty wonderful things in the world.
Really entertaining. My kids like the Mark Rober squirrel videos. I don't know if you've seen those. They're really into those. They've watched those like on repeat. And it gets them thinking. They've like taken that and been like, what can we do to make obstacle courses or different things? And they've tried to do it for our dogs and they're not into it.
That's funny. But yeah, so it's kind of cool. Like, there's like all this stuff out there that can really get them thinking about more than what I think we initially think that they're doing or assume that they're doing with it. They're just consuming. But really, I think it can spark their creativity and their imagination a little bit. Kind of give them
it's just another way to interact with your kids too. You like you said, you're getting to know them, and it might spark some ideas. You might have some activities you can do, and you jump in where they are.
Yes, you do. I remember when I was a kid, my brother and I went through, this is when Beavis and Butthead. I don't know if you remember Beavis and Butthead, but Beavis and Butthead were big, and we went through a phase where we just thought it was the funniest thing in the world. And my parents did not get it, but they also would never like sit down and watch it with us. Mm-hmm. And looking back, maybe they still wouldn't have thought it was funny. But I think it's one of those things, like, you've got to kind of try to meet them halfway sometimes. You may not totally understand why something's funny, but at least you can figure out what they think is funny.
And I like to look at it. I'm like, if you don't interact with them and you don't jump in like that, or you put it down, like, the worst thing I think you can do is really criticize what they are interested in, because then they're going to hide it from you. And the last thing you want is your kids hiding who they are and what their interests are from you. And then you've got then that's where you fall into like the Finstagrams and secret accounts and all that stuff. And that's a trap that would be better avoided.
For sure. I totally agree. It's like I said, we want to know your kids and you want as much out there in the open as possible. So you're right, accepting and figuring out and not passing so much judgment, which I find difficult sometimes. But I think that's like really great advice. So thank you.
And next month we're jumping into Instagram too. So that's another popular one too. I think TikTok's probably the most popular right now. Instagram's close behind it. So that's a good one. If your kids are on there, that's a great one to jump on there and do with your kids.
Definitely. And I think a lot of moms are on there too, and dads for sure. But I know as a mom, that is the social media that I use the most out of them all. And I feel like a lot of my peers do as well. I look forward to learning more about how to set those limits, and hopefully adults and students can get a lot from that as well. Do your kids use Instagram?
So my kids don't care about Instagram. They're more into YouTube and Discord, but we had a funny situation where my son came home from like a weekend camp and he came home and he's like, this girl set up an Instagram account for me. And I was like, she did what? Because I guess they were all shocked that he didn't have an Instagram account, but it's never been something he's interested in. He likes other things better than that. And it wasn't really a problem because he told me about it. Like he felt open enough that he could tell me about it and he wanted to show it to me. But the big issue I saw was like, now this girl has your password because she set it up. So we had to go in there first. We have a rule that I have to have all the passwords to any account that they have because you never know if they're going to forget it or there's a situation where you need to jump in there and fix something. And so I had to have the password, but then we had to go change it. And he didn't understand why we had to change it. I was like, because this girl that you barely know has the password to your Instagram. And she was posting pictures that she'd taken. And fortunately, every picture she posted was innocent. But she was the only one posting to his Instagram because she was like, you have to have Instagram. And he didn't want to post to it. So she was jumping on there and posting pictures for him.
She was like his own little personal social media manager, even though
I know
he
she
didn't
wanted
want
to,
it.
I guess, bring him up to date and make sure that he was online and on social media. And he didn't want to post anything. So she's like, well, I've got photos on my phone of you. So here we go.
Wow, that's really bold, we'll
Yeah,
say.
I think that's fairly common though. It makes it so easy for kids to create their own accounts on Instagram. So even if you know of one, they might have the fake account. They might have a Finstagram you don't know about, or their friends might have created one, or they might have a shared one. Like they can have more than one account. So I think that's important to remember. Maybe you've got the password and you're aware of one, but do they have other accounts on there that you need to be aware of?
Yeah. And if parents don't know how to check their student's Instagram account for a fake Instagram account or a Finstagram, as we call it, we have instructions on how to do that in our current Instagram resource on smartsocial.com/post/Instagram-app.
And I think it's definitely worth checking and making sure because they can have more than one logged in on Instagram, making sure you know how to go and see if they've got other accounts logged in on there. That's just the first line of defense, I think, to see if they have other accounts.
Yeah, because unfortunately, sometimes those accounts could be just for a friend that you're posting innocent, great stuff on. But other times, those fake accounts are ones that they really want to keep hidden and that they could be using to bully or just a whole other persona that parents don't know about. So you're right. That is the first thing you should probably check when you're looking through their Instagram accounts.
My oldest son he didn't even post that much either, but he had a fun time following his friends. And so he showed me a bunch of his friends. He's like, there's their account. And these are kids I knew because they were over at our house a lot. And he's like, and here's their Finstagram. And I was like, it's night and day difference what they were posting on one and what they were posting on the other. And I was like, their moms really don't know about this. Wow. And they would have totally different accounts. They put on their good face for one of them, and the other one, it was just whatever went, anything goes there. A lot of times kids don't think about the consequences of this either, even if they never get discovered by their parents. Somebody else is going to see those photos.
Yes. Yes. Anything you put out there in the digital world has long lasting abilities and can be viewed forever and saved forever and can really affect your digital reputation, which can then also in turn affect your personal goals and future. And I think that's hard for kids to see, to realize.
I don't know about you, but I'm really glad I didn't have social media when I was in high school because I was like, that's a lot of pressure to think through these things. Something's going to be online forever. And you're not at the point where you're thinking through all of that.
Yes, because that's the time that you're making just dumb decisions, like not even like dangerous or like life altering. But if someone were to record it, it could be. If it were saved forever, it could follow you around. And that's just, I like to think I'm a very different person than I was when I was in high school and I was, 17 years old. So I'm glad to have not have that recorded digitally for all time's sake. Well, I think this sounds like a good time to take a little break, and we're going to hear from Josh. He's going to talk about our newsletter and all the different things that you can get by joining our newsletter. And then after the break, we'll come back and talk a little bit more about our upcoming live event and some of the other resources that we've put out recently.
You're listening to the smartsocial.com podcast. Each week, we help parents and educators keep students safe on social media so they can someday shine online. Make sure you join our newsletter to get the most up-to-date social media alerts at smartsocial.com/newsletter. Every Tuesday and Thursday, we send out the latest social media app resources that help parents and educators to navigate this challenging landscape with their students. Now let's get to the program.
Okay, Rachel. So we just finished up our big TikTok resource, and then we also kind of got wind of a new social media challenge, or maybe it's not even that new, that is floating around TikTok right now. It's definitely something that you don't want your kids to participate in. Can you tell us a little bit more about it?
Yeah, so this is the behind the door challenge on TikTok. If you haven't heard of it yet, it's also known as the FUPA challenge or the flashing challenge. So you can probably guess what it involves. It's mostly teens and younger users. They're cracking doors open and walking behind them, not dressed, or using hair to cover things up, or there's a lot with shiny objects or mirrors, and they're using reflections. And the TikTok algorithm is not picking this up and flagging it as nudity. So there's a lot of people doing it. I thought for sure, usually when we jump in and do these challenges, we look for the hashtag and the videos have already been flagged and taken down by TikTok. Yeah. This one, they are not. They're still up there. Unfortunately, a lot of them are fairly innocent. They're not as bad as they could be, but they're still up there. I've seen some on people are showing off curling irons, and the curling irons have a reflective surface. And some of these are young kids too, and they don't realize that these videos are there forever. So it's definitely something you want to be aware of. If your kids are taking their phone into bedrooms or using it in private areas, make sure you're talking to them. I know in our house, we've got a rule that you can't use your phone somewhere that's not like a common area of the home. So then if they're making videos or doing anything like that, I know what they're doing. But this is a good one to check in with your kids and make sure that they're aware of it. If they're aware of it, make sure they're not participating in it, and talk to them about the consequences.
Definitely. A great reminder to talk to your kids about like we were just saying earlier, the long lasting effects of social media and, the digital image that you put out there that can have on your reputation.
Yeah. And we've got in this resource, if you click through on it, we've got a quote from a police officer who's shocked by this trend, because he's like, it's really easy. You can download this video. TikTok makes it really easy. Just click and download it. And then even if you delete it later and have second thoughts about it, people can have it saved on their phone. They can repost it somewhere else. And so it's like you said, it's around forever.
Yeah. And it also sounds like maybe this is something that kids are using to kind of see how creatively they can show themselves, reveal themselves without being flagged by TikTok.
Yeah, they're trying to get views for sure. They're trying to get TikTok famous. And this is like a quick and easy, I guess, way to get a lot of views all at once. TikTok has been watching for these, and they've taken some of the bigger accounts down that have done this. So I know the main person who started it, their account has been removed. But they just can't keep up with the number of videos, and especially when their algorithm's not flagging, it's not triggering whatever they need in their algorithm to show up as nudity. So they're having to kind of go through and wait till things get reported. It's definitely not a great challenge out there. So
no, but we do have a whole resource on social media challenges, and there are some good examples and positive ways to do social media challenges with your kids as a family. If that's really what your student is wanting to do, to be part of what everyone else is doing and being part of a trend, there are definitely some positive, good ways that they can do it with your help and safely and in a more positive way.
And we shared some ideas in the video too. One thought that we had somebody else share with us actually is you can go on YouTube and search for TikTok dances and different things, and you can see them on YouTube without even going to TikTok. So if your kids are interested in learning some of these TikTok dances, that might be a good option for you.
Yeah, because I do know that is part of it, is sometimes is the just knowing the dance, because the kids at school, my daughter, who does not have TikTok, will come home and ask oh, can we look this up? I really want to learn this dance. Everybody's doing it at school. So
Hmm.
that's really,
It makes them feel included, but yeah, you're right. And they don't always have to post it. So YouTube might be a great way to go for that and doing
yeah.
it together as a family. We
Yes.
do have a resource too that we shared in the past few weeks about the negative impact of TikTok. So that's worth looking over. It's just very informative. I don't think TikTok's all bad, but being aware of some of those challenges and some of the consequences of too much time on TikTok for teens, I think is really important as a parent. So it's definitely worth checking that out. We do have our full TikTok app guide live too. So that goes into some of the things teens can use it for as in a positive way. One of my favorite things in there is we've got an example of she's not a teen, I don't think, but in her young 20s, a girl who's used TikTok as a resume. And she's super bubbly and she does a great job of really sharing her background. And so it's a really good example to show your kids about how they can use some of these videos to get noticed and get in front of the people that they need to be seen for future college opportunities and employment opportunities.
Yes, I love that video too. That's just, I never would have thought like that people would use it that way. But of course, it just makes sense. It's the natural progression of technology and the way our lives are going, that of course people would be using these platforms to really showcase their skills and turn it into future employment or something more positive. So I think that's a great example. You're totally right.
And something like a TikTok resume is such a better option than some of these challenges that kids are putting out there that just have a negative consequence for them. They're going to damage their digital footprint. And I think that's a good talking point with kids, showing them both options. I mean, maybe don't show them the challenge videos, but talking about both options and showing them how they can really make a difference with the things that they're posting versus damaging opportunities that might come into play in the future.
And also, you can get all of our replay videos from last month's live TikTok event are all saved on that page as well. So if you missed your chance at the live event, you can see the full video on the guest experts where they answer all of Josh's questions, and you can hear all of our students answer all of his questions, go into more detail on their answers and their thoughts.
Some of those interviews I thought were great from both the students and the experts. It's definitely worth watching. And next month we're going into Instagram. So that's another great one. March 22nd and March 28th, we have 3 times available on each day. So if you have students on Instagram or they're interested in Instagram, that's definitely a good one to show up for.
Yes. And I know we have a couple of guests booked already to talk with Josh and give their insight and their views on the app. To Tanya Jordan from Bark. I know she's sitting down with Josh to discuss her views on Instagram and different ways to stay safe.
We've got somebody from the Center for Countering Digital Hate, and they had some great insights on putting kids on some of these social media apps and the consequences. So that's a great one to look for.
I love how diverse the group of experts that we have. It should be some really good, different views for parents and students to hear about. I'm looking forward to that. And hopefully everyone will be able to attend that live event. Like Rachel said, 3 times, 2 different days. Hopefully one of those times will fit with your schedule. They're really informative. If your student is on this app or wants to be on this app, this is just a really great opportunity to get in touch and figure out the best ways to use it and get some advice on how your family can work with Instagram.
And you might learn something your student doesn't know and impress them too.
That's right. Isn't that cool? I can't imagine that right now. I feel like we're entering the know-it-all phase a little bit. We'll have more resources other than Instagram as well. We're doing some research on some third-party editing apps that people are using with Instagram to post their videos and their pictures. And we're also talking a little bit, diving deeper into different chat apps like Remind. And I think you just came up with a new one, right?
We just found one. My kids are using a new one now that I had not heard before. So we are going to dive into that one. I don't know. You guys feel free to share if you or your schools are using this one too. It's called Spawned. I know our team has switched to that. So it makes me wonder if there's other teams out there doing the same thing.
We've already done GroupMe and we are putting something out on Remind. We're going to research Spawned as well. Any other chat apps that you guys are using that you would love more information on, please let us know, comment or send us an email, and we would love to hear about those or any other apps that you're just curious about or your student has been asking for and you're not quite sure if it's appropriate or not. Or if you have a great story that you also like to share with us, we'd love those as well. So we're going to get back to work researching more apps and more social media so that we can try to keep all of you parents and students up to date and in the know. So until next week, Rachel.
Yep, we've got a lot of great things coming, so it's going to be fun.
Okay. Thank you so much. We'll talk to you later. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the smartsocial.com podcast with this week's topics. If you enjoyed the Mom Talk discussion that we had today about all things social media from a mom's perspective, we invite you to join the smartsocial.com VIP program. As a very informed parent VIP member, you will learn about the dangers and benefits of social media for your kids and get tips every week to keep your family safe online, and most importantly, to teach your students how to shine online. We have over 130 detailed app guides that cover apps like TikTok, Snapchat, Instagram, and 100+ apps you might not have heard of, but your students may have visited or downloaded. Find out more and join today at smartsocial.com/VIP. Please remember to rate, subscribe, and review so we can continue to help more parents and educators just like you. I'm your host, Josh Oakes. As always, remember to keep it light, bright, and polite. We'll see you on the next episode. Have a great day.